my feet touch the floor. Cold, real, no hesitation. I didn't reach for my phone, didn't look for distraction. I just sat there, breathing. Aware of how far I had come, without realizing it. Some changes don't arrive all at once. They reveal themselves quietly. In mornings like this, when nothing feels unfinished. I heard a notification sound on someone else's phone, and for a second my body reacted, that old instinct, that brief rise of attention. It faded just as quickly. I didn't reach for my pocket, didn't check anything. There was a time that sound meant something, a shift in mood, a change in direction. Now it was just noise. I kept walking, letting the moment pass without attaching to it. It's strange how certain habits live longer than their purpose. How the body remembers even when the heart has moved on. I didn't feel disconnected, I didn't feel relieved. I just felt neutral, like I had stepped outside something that once defined me. Not broken, not prepared, just finished. And that quiet finality didn't need explanation. You've already left them behind. I stayed in bed a few minutes longer, not because I was tired, but because there was no pressure to move. The light coming through the window was softer than usual, falling across the wall in a way I hadn't noticed before. I watched it shift slowly without trying to hold it there. There was a time mornings felt like something to survive, like I had to protect myself from what might come. Now they just arrive. Without weight, without expectation, I got up eventually, walked across the room without thinking. No resistance, no hesitation, just motion. I realized I wasn't carrying anything from yesterday. No unfinished feeling, no lingering question, just space and a quiet awareness that I didn't need to be anyone else to move forward from here. took a step forward, not thinking about where I was going, just trusting that I wasn't standing still anymore. I opened the window and let the air move through the room, not to change anything, just to let something new pass through. The curtain shifted slightly, a slow, almost careful motion, like it didn't want to disturb what was already there. I stood beside it for a moment, feeling the difference on my skin. The outside meeting the inside. There was a time I closed everything up, windows, doors, parts of myself, trying to control what entered, trying to avoid what might leave. I understand it differently. Now I understand it differently. Nothing stays because you force it. Nothing leaves because you fail. Some things just pass through. I didn't rush to close the window. I let the air remain. Not because I needed it, but because I didn't need to stop it. And in that small decision, I realized I wasn't afraid of changing you. stepped in without thinking, turned toward the mirror on the back wall. My reflection didn't ask anything from me. It didn't need explanation. It didn't need justification. It just existed. The doors closed gently, and I realized I wasn't waiting for anything anymore. I was just moving forward, because that's what I do now. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, not because something blocked my way, but because the smell caught me off guard. Someone nearby was wearing the same cologne you used to wear, that exact warmth, that familiar trace. For a second, it didn't feel like memory. It felt present. I didn't turn around, didn't need to see who it was. Some things don't belong to people anymore. They belong to time. I stood there longer than anyone would notice, letting the moment move through me. I wondered how long it had been like that, how many times I had used it without ever noticing. There was a time I thought damage was always obvious, something loud, something impossible to ignore. Now I know it's often quieter than that. It lives in small places, in things that still function, in things that still hold together. I finished washing it and set it down gently, not because it was fragile, but because I understood it differently now. Some things don't stop being useful just because they've changed. They just carry their history differently. I was walking down the street when I saw someone run to catch a bus. They laughed when they made it, like they had to save something important. I remember that feeling, that urgency, that belief that missing something would change everything. I used to move like that too, always trying to arrive in time, always afraid of what would happen if I didn't. Now I walk at my own pace, not because I have nowhere to be, but because I don't feel like I'm losing anymore. Some things leave whether you run or not. Some things stay even when you don't try. I watch the bus disappear down the road, no regret, no second thoughts, just movement, just continuation. I kept walking, not towards something specific, just movement. And I sat on a bench and watched people pass without noticing me. Everyone carrying something invisible. A thought, a worry, a memory. It made me realize how much of life happens internally, how much never gets spoken. I remember when my mind was louder, when every silence filled itself with questions, when every pause needed explanation. Now my thoughts come and go without resistance. I don't try to stop them, I don't try to hold them. They just pass, like the people in front of me. Each one moving through their own version of time. I stayed there for a while, not waiting for clarity, not waiting for change. Just existing in the same world without needing it to respond to me. Eventually, I stood up, not because something ended, but because I was ready to continue.
Picked up an old jacket from the back of the chair. It was heavier than I remember, not in weight, but in what it carried. I slid my arm into the sleeve, the fabric cold at first, then slowly warm into my skin.
I remembered wearing it on nights I didn't wanna be alone, walking longer routes home just to delay the quiet. Back then I thought distance could change how I felt. The movement alone could solve something inside me.
Now I understand differently. You can walk for hours and still carry the same thoughts with you. Now I understand differently. You can walk for hours, could still carry the same thoughts with you. I stood there wearing it for a moment, not lost in memory, just aware of the time between then and now.
I took it off gently,
like yourself.
I was waiting at the cross when the light changed, but I didn't move right away. Not because I wasn't paying attention, just because I wasn't in a hurry. The street was empty anyway. No cars coming, no one behind me. There was a time I would have crossed immediately. Always moving, always thinking about what was next. Now I let the moment breathe. I stood there a second longer, feeling the air against my face, listening to nothing in particular. Then I stepped forward, not because the signal told me to, but because I was ready. There's a difference now between reacting and choosing. I don't move out of habit anymore. I move when it feels true, and somehow that makes every step feel more mine. I noticed the sound of my keys when I set them down. A small metallic echo against the table. Something ordinary, something I never paid attention to before. I stood there for a moment after, listening to how quickly the sound disappeared. There was a time I moved through my days without noticing anything. Everything felt blurred together, like I was always somewhere else. the keys again. Felt their weight in my hand. Proof of something simple, proof of presence. I didn't need to go anywhere. I didn't need to unlock anything. I just held them for a second, then set them back down. Not because I was finished, but because I was already where I needed to be.
The bus kept moving, buildings passing through the glass, people appearing and disappearing, and I stayed there,
not lost in thought, not searching for a meaning, just aware that I wasn't trying to be someone else anymore. I was already here, quietly becoming who I was meant to be. step forward without hesitation, without overthinking, just moving naturally. And in that small moment, I understood peace doesn't announce itself.
something that reshaped me without feeling a strain. You showed me how to be open without losing my ground. You showed me how to love without needing a sound.
Just to shift your view, not to stay forever, but to awaken something in you. And somehow that awakening still carries me through.